Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, I might say. This is Dr. Vasquez coming to you live in April of 2025. What I'm going to do in this spontaneous video is provide a quick kind of update, an overview, an introduction, and context for a different video that I just uploaded. This was called the 2015 European Congress on Antiviral Strategies and Immune Nutrition. This is a presentation that I delivered in Belgium, Brussels, Belgium to be precise, back in 2015. In 2014, I had just kind of restructured the antiviral protocol. And again, 10 years ago, a lot of us were still kind of neutral on the whole topic of vaccines. We're supposed to use them in medical school. We're kind of pushed and actually forced to receive them and to use them, but without any education on the topic at all. So you'll notice that my comments are probably a bit sedate on the topic of vaccines as well as on the topic of nutrition. So I anticipate that if I were to review my own presentation right now, I would think it's probably a little weak. But that's because it was 10 years ago, and the data on nutrition wasn't as strong as it is now, of course, and the data against vaccines wasn't as strong then as it is now. So, yeah, you're welcome to listen to the presentation, of course. That's why I put it on the site. This is one of the many videos that I salvaged before my Vimeo account got annihilated, because the only reason they gave me for deleting my video archive account that I've had for 15 years, the only clear reason they gave me is because I had criticized Anthony Fauci. And not even attacking him personally, but I had reviewed his so-called legacy interview in the New York Times that was published in 2023, and I called it for what it was. It was just bullshit. It was bullshit journalism with bullshit replies. And they interpreted my criticism of the New York Times and of Anthony Fauci as being anti-vaccine, and so they deleted my entire account, which had all of my teaching videos and everything. So, like I said before, I've been able to rescued 150 of 300 videos, and I'm hoping that the rest of them I have on external hard drives when I get back home. So again, the video that I'm trying to introduce, and I am going to provide some clinical context here. The video that I'm introducing is my kind of bootlegged recording of my own presentation from 2015, European Congress on Antiviral Strategies and Immune Nutrition, Brussels, Belgium. And I think it was probably a little bit on the weak side compared to what I would do right now. So right now, after 10 years, 11 years of experience and reflection, I'm a lot more confident about that work. And I would certainly present the information in a much stronger fashion now. But anyway, let's talk about the protocol. So the protocol that I published in 2014, Antiviral Nutrition, which was later erased off the face of Amazon. They deleted that book at the start of the pandemic when it was precisely needed. I mean, that one book, if I may say so, would have changed the course of the pandemic if it had been available, but it was deleted. It was deleted in March of 2020, so Trump was still president, but then later the Biden administration really ramped up the censorship. So if it hadn't been deleted under the Trump administration, I guess it would have been deleted under the Biden administration. But anyway, it was deleted. So obviously, since all this time, I've done a lot more videos on antiviral nutrition, including positive videos, I'll say, kind of showing what to do, and also negative videos showing what not to do. And what not to do is follow the bullshit research that gets published by the American Medical Association, because I just uploaded one of those video reviews right now. I mean, they just publish complete garbage. They underdose to show inefficacy, or they overdose to make it look toxic. And like with the case of vitamin D, using a higher dose produces the paradox of toxicity along with inefficacy. So, Journal of the American Medical Association loves to publish overdosed studies, or overdosing studies on vitamin D where they use too much. It's called bolus dosing. They love to publish those studies because it makes vitamin D look toxic and ineffective at the same time, which is exactly what they want. So, again, they have a lot of different strategies to make nutrition look bad and drugs look good, but it's not because of the value of the therapy itself, it's because of the way they design the studies. And most doctors, most medical doctors, don't even know how to read research. And they don't know how to evaluate studies, and they don't know anything about nutrition. So, again, I'm talking about most. Obviously, we have exceptions. But when you combine all of that together, plus their pro-drug bias, because that's how they make a living, is selling drugs, then that's how you can see that the whole information ecosystem gets contaminated. But the leader of that misinformation, of course, is the big journals like The Lancet, British Medical Journal, which also publishes complete garbage, JAMA, and Archives of Internal Medicine. Those are and the New England Journal of Medicine is also horrible. So that's how they create and sustain this anti-nutrition bias that promotes drug profiteering and drug dependency. So anyway, before I sign out on this quick introduction to that video, again, it was 10 years ago. I expect that it's pretty weak, but it is, 5 hours of review. So for those of you who want to review the video, you're welcome to do that. But the way that I would say it now to emphasize, clinical applicability is that, as I've said in other videos, and this has always been my teaching strategy, you have to end up with what's called declarative knowledge. You have to end up with something that you know, that you've memorized, and that you can use. Otherwise, I mean, you can read 100 books and you can read 100 articles and you can watch 1,000 videos, but if you're not translating that information into structure that you can use, then you're gaining the vocabulary, you're gaining some concepts, you might even be gaining some interventions that you can use, but you don't have the whole picture. And so you have to end up with a strategy that you can use, and you have to commit it to memory. That's why it's called declarative memory, not simply looking on a multiple choice test saying, oh yeah, I remember that. That's called familiarity, and that's the level of education these days, is familiarity. Everything's multiple choice test, usually with 4 or 5 options. So you've got a 20% or 25% chance of getting it right just by guessing. Unlike, for example, on the United States medical licensing exams, where, they're multiple choice questions, but you've got 13 options. So your chance of, getting some free points just by randomly guessing is 9% or 8%. So that's a different ballgame. So, like I said, you have to end up with declarative knowledge. And so in the world of antiviral nutrition, the way that I've defined it, and I've never even seen anybody else define it, so I guess maybe I'm the only one who has a structure to it, but you have to know the 4 components. I mean, it's based on physiology and pathology, so you have to know the 4 components of a viral infection. And if you know the 4 components of a viral infection, then you would want to know how to address each one of those components with, in this case, nutrients, but obviously you could use drugs if you want. And these days, I probably would use drugs. I like I said before, I like drugs, I like medicines, I like emergency medicine. I like urgent care. I love antibiotics when they're used properly. I love hormonal drugs like Dostinex. Cabergoline is one of my favorite drugs. Arimidex is one of my favorite drugs. Cephalexin, I think, is a cool antibiotic. I like it. So, I mean, I definitely have the drugs that I love, medications that I love, especially for urgent care and emergency medicine. But if we can achieve a good therapeutic outcome with drugs and/or nutrients, I'm for whatever works. But nutrients usually work quite well, because that's the way that I say it, is nutrients are basically the language of the body. So the body uses nutrients to do everything else, to make cells, to make neurotransmitters, to make hormones, to push pathways or restrict pathways. So again, nutrients are the building blocks and the language, depending on what metaphor you want to use, of the body. So I mean, your body's used to using nutrients. You've got pathways for nutrients. So you're not putting in something that your body has to interpret as a foreign chemical or a toxin, as it does with other drugs, because your body's trying to use it and your body's trying to detoxify it and clear it out at the same time. That's why it's kind of an internal conflict. And obviously those detoxification pathways are expensive. You have to do phase 1 of detoxification is free radical producing. So anytime you expose the body to any foreign chemical that has to be detoxified, you are, by definition, also causing free radical damage, or promoting it anyway. So again, the 4 components of a viral infection are what? I mean, you have to know, you or I or anybody who's trying to function at a high level in nutrition and functional medicine, you have to know the structure that you're treating in order to treat it effectively. Just like if you were doing construction or addressing any problem, if you're trying to repair a wall or do some type of building maintenance or whatever, you have to understand the structure that you're dealing with. And the same is true for pathology. If you're going to fix pathology, you have to first understand the pathology, or you could just get lucky. So what's the pathology of a viral infection? 4 steps. You have to acquire the virus. The virus then enters the cell and begins replication by hijacking the cell's own machinery. But that's great, because what that tells you is that you can intervene in that. If the if the virus is hijacking the body's own machinery, like NF-kappa B, for example, and you already know that you have nutrients that can impact the vitamin C. You have nutrients that can impact the NF-kappa B pathway, then you know that you have ways to intervene. So again, step number 1 of a viral infection is acquisition, replication, immune response, and then the systemic consequences, including neuroinflammation and mitochondrial impairment. So if you know if those are the steps of a viral infection from start to finish, and those are the steps from start to finish, then you also know, you could know how to plug and play certain nutrients and therapeutics to fix those problems. Again, the problems are acquisition, replication, immune response, and systemic complications. So, acquisition, you have to fix the barriers, and you have to fix mucosal immunity. For replication, you have to try to stop the replication of the virus, and you can do that with nutrients. That's very well demonstrated. For the 3rd component, which is immune response, you could also include viral mutation in that step, because the immune system has to constantly respond to whatever is the new form of the virus, because most viruses are genetically unstable, so they mutate all the time, especially RNA viruses. And so you could do things to stop viral mutation. I've talked about that. You could do things to support immune function. I've talked about that. And then step number 4 is cleaning up the mess and the neuroinflammation and the mitochondrial impairment. If you know how to do that, then you have a good treatment for viral infections from start to finish. So that's how I address it, and you'll see that reflected minimally or hopefully sufficiently in this video from the 2015 European Congress Antiviral Strategies and Immune Nutrition. So hopefully with that context and looking at the other videos that are newer, you'll be able to get some value out of that. So I hope so. I hope, if it's not high payoff, then you could still play the video at double speed or speed and a half and let it play while you're cleaning house or washing clothes or vacuuming your car or whatever. That's still a worthwhile and effective way to learn things. Like when I was studying for medical board exams, 12 years ago. No, not even 12 years ago. It was almost 20 years ago now. Well, 18 years ago. When I was studying for medical board exams, I just listened to audiobooks and audio reviews. But I remember like cutting the grass and, doing house maintenance and cleaning house while I was listening to, board review audios on, rhabdomyolysis and what's the drug for rhabdomyolysis? I remember learning this. Well, maybe I forgot it by now. It was 18 years ago. But I remember studying that. Dantrolene, I think is the name of the drug. I remember studying that when I was cutting the grass. I remember cutting the grass and learning about rhabdomyolysis, and the drug that I was looking for on the multiple choice reply was Dantrolene. And I think it was actually on there. The other thing, this was so stupid, so completely stupid, I have to think about it. Because I tried to ignore it. That's why maybe I don't even remember it. Because I was actively trying to ignore this, but I was also committing myself to memorizing it because it was so completely stupid. I thought, if they ask me this, I'm not even going to let them win. I'm going to give them the right answer, even though I think it's stupid. And yeah, I remember now. The word association was crumpled tissue paper in macrophages. So you're supposed to find that on a biopsy or something. I remember this from 18 years ago. So if they ask you what disease correlates with the pathologic finding of macrophages that appear to be filled with crumpled tissue paper, the answer that you're supposed to give is Gaucher's disease. I don't even know what Gaucher's disease is, barely. I mean, it's like a so-called inborn error of metabolism. I don't think it's a mitochondrial disease, or it's a intracellular storage disease, but it's Gaucher's disease. And the way that they used to diagnose that was by finding crumpled tissue paper in macrophages. It was so stupid. And I thought to myself, I shouldn't even have to memorize this bullshit. But I memorized it, and it was on the medical board exams. So I got my point. Because I, unlike some people I know, like my best friend in medical school, I can see how stupid the game is, and then I could say it's stupid, but I'm going to do it anyway. At times, I don't play the game all the time, but I can win at the game even though I think it's stupid and worthless, because it's the game, and that's how medical boards and medical recertification exams are. It's just sometimes you got to memorize a bunch of stupid stuff and you got to regurgitate a bunch of stupid stuff, but if you want the certificate or if you want the paper or if you want the license, that's what you got to do. I have played the game. Right now I don't play that game anymore, but I have played the game and I'm damn good at that game. Like I've said before, I scored in the top 1% and top 5% on the USMLE, but I don't know if I could even play that game anymore, just because I don't care and it's stupid. But I like the challenge, so I probably could do it. But anyway, You got to know the components of the disease that you're treating in order to treat it effectively. With viral infections, you've only got 4 components you have to memorize: acquisition, replication, immune response, and then metabolic systemic cleanup, So you can address each one of those with nutrition. You can address some of those with drugs, but you can't address all of those with drugs because drugs don't impact all of those pathways. You're not going to find a drug necessarily. I mean, you could try to get really creative, but most people don't know drug pharmacology well enough to do this. And I'm only thinking of one example, so it's not like I have a lot of examples. But if you're trying to improve barriers, you have to use nutrition. I mean, the barriers are made of proteins, fats, amino acids, and so you have to use proteins, fats, amino acids, and vitamins to protect the barriers. The only drug, it's barely, I guess it's a drug. It's a synthetic version of a natural component, so of course that makes it a drug, but it's like they just copied a nutrient. But the only drug that I think would actually improve barrier defense is what? Probably cromolyn. That's the only one I'm thinking of. And even then, it would only work in certain circumstances. Step number 2, inhibiting viral replication. You've got a lot of nutrient options that do that. I'll let you look at the videos to get that. I've talked about it a million times. But you can definitely stop or impair viral replication with nutrients. You can stop or impair viral mutation with nutrients. You can certainly support immune function with nutrients. And then, cleaning up the damage with antioxidants and anti-cytokine nutrition and neurotransmitter modulation and mitochondrial nutrition and, membrane restoration therapies and all this kind of stuff. I mean, you can do that with nutrition. So the most effective treatments, in my opinion, for preventing, treating, and recovering from viral infections are all nutrients. And yeah, you can throw some drugs in there, but whether you're going to use drugs or nutrients or drugs with nutrients, you still have to know the structure of a viral infection. So by now you should be able to repeat what I've said, because I've already said it like 3 or 4 times. So acquisition, replication, immune response, and then systemic complications. So I think you'll see that reviewed in the video that I'm talking about, the 2015 European Congress on Antiviral Strategies and Immune Nutrition. So hope you watch it if you want to, or at least listen to it while you're cleaning house, and hopefully you'll get something out of it. So that's it. That's my introduction. Take care, everybody.